Well, not my father wasn't around at all. He passed when I was very young. I didn't know him very well. I don't even have a photo of him. It's just, yeah.
Wow.
So it's like, it's a big void in my life, and it's weird. I think, I'm not sure why his family doesn't have it. They had some issues with drugs and stuff. So I'm not sure why they don't have the picture, but it's a big void in my life. So I wasn't able to get anything from him. And my mom was a country girl. She had me when she was 20. She came from Alabama. So in a lot of ways, and I tease her about this a lot, in a lot of ways, she and I learned together. I remember the anxiety she had when she was buying the first house. And my sister's father, who was the closest thing that we had to our father, he was the impetus for us buying her first house. I remember that anxiety. So just living through that stress of buying this, and it was only $50,000. I mean, we'd buy the block if it was $50,000 now, right?
Right.
But back then, you have to think about this, the 60s, early 70s, that was all the money on earth to her.
So my question to you is, we talked about wealth building. What is your definition of wealth?
Well, you know, a lot of people think it's a fixed number. Once I get 10 million, I'm wealthy. And that's not really it. Really, you have to create a system. Money is just a way to buy freedom, right? And you have to have a system that generates money. That's always, when we talk about passive income, we're talking about if you own the real estate, hopefully maybe you rent it and you get some money after all the expenses are paid. That's one way of income. But we also get appreciation on the property value over time. You can cash out some of that equity with no tax implication and be able to do another investment. So
Like the 1031 exchange?
No, that's a different thing. But I'm just talking about, like, you can do the property that you can hold. You can hold them for 5 to 7 years. You'll get a gain because of appreciation. You can pull out the gains in some sort of refinance or some sort of line of credit, and then use those gains tax-free to make other investments. So my definition of wealth is the ability to create systems that will generate wealth over time, appreciate in value over time, and give you the flexibility to make other investments to multiply. That's wealth. So it's not a fixed number.
So that's amazing. And I love that. Imagine you're talking to a first-time home buyer, right? Who feels like, man, did I miss out because I should have bought during, the time that interest rates were really low, or a couple of years ago? Like, all these strategies sound great,
Right.
but is it for me? Can I do it? Especially, as challenging as people feel like things are now. Do you feel like it's still possible for someone who's a first-time home buyer to do it?
Yeah. The main thing about first-time home buyers is they have to be realistic about where they can live, right? So oftentimes they see other people that participated earlier and they're in the better neighborhoods. And so you want to live in that neighborhood and you want what they have, but you can't afford that because at the time when it was affordable, you weren't in the game. So you're going to have to be flex on the 3 elements of real estate: the size, the location, and price. You pick the 2 that you most want, because the market is going to dictate the third. So if price is important and size is important, then you're going to have to adjust your location. Then you're going to have to adjust your price. You can only get 2 of them. Even people with a lot of money, you can only get 2 of them. The market will dictate the third condition. And so once you're realistic about it, then you can make a decision. Then you can say, okay, it's an investment. And even though it's a 20-year mortgage, a 30-year mortgage, I'm not going to be here for 5 years. I'll flip it or I'll rent it or whatever. So I think that if they're realistic about that and they keep in mind size, location, and price, pick the 2 that's the most important. The market will dictate the third. Make that adjustment in your life and you'll be able to make a great investment and have equity going forward.
I love that.
Yeah.
I really hope people are taking that.
I really
hope.
It's the most important thing. It really is, because even we have affluent buyers and they have a lot of money and they're like, "What? I needed this and I needed the driveway to be that." Listen, we're not going to get everything in our house. Sometimes we have to buy it the way that it is and make the adjustment as we move along. So it's the most important thing.
I have so many questions for you. So you talked about, your family owning real estate, you owning real estate. What are you teaching your kids that your parents didn't teach you? It seems like they taught you a lot, but was there anything missing that you're now teaching your kids?
Oh yeah, well, my father wasn't around at all. He passed when I was very young. I didn't know him very well. I don't even have a photo of him. It's just,
Wow.
yeah. So it's like, it's a big void in my life, and it's weird. I think I'm not sure why his family doesn't have it. They had some issues with drugs and stuff, so I'm not sure why they don't have the picture, but it's a big void in my life. So I wasn't able to get anything from him. And my mom was a country girl. She had me when she was 20. She came from Alabama. So in a lot of ways, and I tease her about this a lot, in a lot of ways, she and I learned together. I remember the anxiety she had when she was buying the first house. And my sister's father, who was the closest thing that we had to our father, he was the impetus for us buying her first house. I remember that anxiety. So just living through that stress of buying this property, and it was only $50,000. I mean, we'd buy the block if it was $50,000 now, right?
Right.
But back then, you have to think about this, the 60s, early 70s, that was all the money on earth to her.
I mean, it's all relative.
Exactly. And so she bought it. It was the best decision she ever made because, and I always tell my first time home buyers, people that are starting wealth, the first thing is to plant your flag somewhere, right? You want the first thing to stability, the first thing to the ability to be able to provide for your family into the future is to plant your flag someplace and be able to plan, I'm going to be here for a while. No one can take it away from me. And I can build my wealth starting from here. The equity can start from here. If you're blessed and you get the multifamily, you get that rental income to have offset that mortgage payment. So you're living for half the price if you were just renting the property. So my mom, she did the best she could, but I think we learned together. And I really got, in school, as you know, in our education system, we don't get a lot of education in regards to that. So what's important for us is that we're teaching our kids. My sons are like in it. My oldest is in college now. He came home for the summer after his freshman year of just getting worn out in school. And one of my business partners, we own a property management company. My son went and worked as a property manager for the summer, sweeping hallways and picking up mail and arguing with tenants and working with contractors. And all the stuff that I have to do day to day on our holdings, he had to do for somebody else, and he can't whine and complain or cry because I'm the dad.
Right.
He's talking to somebody else that had nothing to do with me, and it was an eye-opening experience for him. And he said, "Dad, I get it. I understand." So he's going to be in the game. I don't think he's going to be a broker. I think he's going to be in some other capacity, probably property management capacity. It was a great education for him.
So I have two questions. These will be my last two questions. But it's hard because when you come from very humble beginnings, you want to give your children everything, right? What about keeping them humble and grounded is important to you?
Oh my God, you touched, these are incredible questions. It's so thoughtful. To be honest with you, I think I failed in a lot of ways because I worked really, really, really hard. My sons go to private school and charter schools. My son's really nice college in Pennsylvania. And I think we spoil them too much. I think we're trying to reverse engineer some of it now and try to be a little bit more thoughtful. Try to do a little bit more charity. In my fraternity, I'm a Kappa, Delta Mu chapter, Spring '89.
Hey!
Yo.
I thought you were going to start stepping.
Get my cane. And so we do charity. I should participate more. Brothers, I'm sorry. I should be participating more. But we do the Christmas. We give away turkeys. We do stuff like that. So I have my sons come with me, and we go into underprivileged areas, and we'll give out turkey, Christmas gifts, and stuff like that. And I try to give them a little humility. Like, listen, we have to do this for them. Is because they don't have what you have. You both have your own rooms. You have your own TV. You have your own everything. And this guy is in a room, this child's in a room with his two other siblings. And they need this, what we're giving them. So you try to do the lessons. But to be honest with you, we're trying to re-engineer some of that stuff now because we just spoiled them too much when they were young.
But you want to also teach them what's possible. So it's a very delicate balance. I get it.
I have a friend of mine that creates this sort of fake struggle. And the kid can see past it because all of his friends aren't living like that.
Right.
So I don't want to create the fake struggle. So I want to try to create it more real. My youngest is a sweetheart. He has incredible empathy and he's a sweet kid. My oldest is super competitive. He's a basketball player, Division III basketball player in college. And so he's just always competitive. And I don't think he always has the empathy, but maybe as he matures, he'll get the empathy. So we're working on it.
Only time will tell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And just know that your best is good enough, right?
Yes.
And there's a reason why God placed them in your life. And there's a reason, like, being a parent has taught me so much. I learned so much more from my children than I feel like they learned from me.
It's incredible that you say that. I think about that all the time. They taught me about myself, like to the extent that I will protect, to the extent that I will provide.
Right.
I love my business. I love real estate. I love solving problems. And I'm gonna be texting tonight after this. I work really, really hard to be able to provide that for them. You didn't have the kids, maybe you don't have purpose. Maybe you don't have urgency. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not urgent just for me. Like, I sacrifice a lot. Now, I don't even have a car. You know what I'm saying? I'm paying for college cash and I don't have a car. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because it's the sacrifice that I make.
You really need a car.
I actually do, because I'm doing a lot of business. New York City Metro is Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, Manhattan, and Staten Island.
Oh, wow.
So that's the Metro,
Yeah.
right? But they're really far apart. I mean, Manhattan is right there, but I do business in Queens, and it's almost impossible to do it effectively without a car. I do business in the Bronx. I did a great sale in the Bronx. And if you don't have a car, it's just really difficult. So I'm going to get a car.
Okay.
Eventually.
Okay. If you're a car dealer.
I mean, and
That's right.
you know, I'm going to get a Tesla. I love Teslas. I know.
I didn't say anything.
I don't think my partner, she has a Tesla too. My partner. I love it. I think that when you ride a Tesla, you're suggesting, you're letting people know that I care about the environment. So it's just important that we start to groom ourselves. And my sons love it. The Batman doors, they go crazy. They go crazy.
Falcon, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my oldest, he's like, that's his first car. He wants a Tesla. So I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. It's like 30 grand, 40 grand. So I'm going to get it first, but I'll let him ride my car. But I love it, love it, love it. So, we'll get a car.
My final question to you, what is one thing that you had to heal about yourself or unlearn in order to become the person that is sitting across from me today?
Wow. What are you doing to me? What are you doing? I had a little bit of a temper. I served in the Marine Corps as well. My brother and I went to the Gulf War together. And there's a lot of tension. We grew up in an underprivileged neighborhood, and then you find yourself in that situation. There's a lot of anger and frustration that you're trying to reconcile, that you're trying to make sure that you don't spill out. And when I was younger, I didn't have as much of a hold on it. So it would come out more frequently. But as I get older and I'm mellower, I'm 58 now, and my kids have mellowed me out. They suck all the energy out of you anyway. I think that was the thing. Just learning to calm down and listen to your breath. If you can hear your breath, if you can hear your breathing, you can calm down and get inside of yourself, and I think you can solve problems better. I think you can have a better view of the world. If you're angry and trying to solve a problem, I don't think you get the best result. So I think that learning to deal with my anxiety, deal with my anger, that's the best thing. And I think that makes me a better agent too.
And it's a better human.
A better human, yeah. But in the context of this agent, but in the context of humanity and being a good citizen, even in these trying times. I mean, even after the election, everybody was really emotional about that, but you have to pull it back. You have to find the common humanity. You have to find a way to communicate with each other, live with results, and move forward. And hopefully, 2025 is going to be a good year for us.
One thing I do want to just bring up, your breath, and I equate it to coming home to yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, especially after the pandemic, don't want to be alone with their own thoughts and themselves and to sit in silence.
Yes.
So I commend you for that. And thank you for raising great men that will, have a legacy and an inheritance of what you've learned thus far and your healing. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you and your husband. I mean, you guys have been an inspiration for me for so long. Walking in your footsteps, and I love the relationship you guys have, and I love what you're building. So keep up the good work. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Yeah.
Thank